Today is October 13th, and the Yankees will be facing the Guardians in the American League Championship Series, so let's talk all about it.
Talking Yanks with old John Boy and Jake. Recaps galore, weekly awards, stat lines, steam and hot takes. Get your Yankees news from these two fine dudes. It's time for Talking Yanks. Talking Yanks with old John Boy and Jake. Talking Yanks with old John Boy and Jake.
Hello and welcome to Talkin' Yanks. Thank you very much for joining us. Today we will be previewing the American League Championship Series between the New York Yankees and the Cleveland Guardians. My name is Jimmy. His name is Jake, BBD producing in the corner. And we've got some good stuff now that we know who the Yanks are playing. Jake, did you have any lean towards the end? Guardians, Tigers?
I just wanted the series to go 5, because if Detroit made it out in 4 and we had to plan on Scooble in 2 of the first 5 games, it's something the baseball gods want you to believe in. Cleveland is the better team throughout the season, and we, even on Talking Baseball, we shrug and poke at the American League, both Central divisions, because they're lower budget, and it's, I don't know. The Guardians are a good team. They just do things differently. Them and the Milwaukee Brewers, who are now out, it's a ton of pitching, mostly bullpen. And their defense is great. Like, that's, I don't know when we're going to dive into the Guardians a little bit, but plan on being frustrated by their defense, because they're going to make some highlight plays. That's how they build their team. They don't build their teams on Judges, Stanton, Sotos, and those guys. To play on their roster, you have to play defense, and then from there you have to contribute offensively. But the Guardians are a good team with the best bullpen in baseball. So I think a lot of Yankee fans, just seeing Cleveland in past years, don't mind the matchup. But the funny comparison that our guy Trevor Plouffe has run into, they're kind of like your creepy neighbor. You don't know what's going on over there. They kind of scare you a little bit. There's always a saw playing in their garage playing. So I don't know. I think all Yankee fans are pretty excited for a CS where they are the Vegas favorites, Jimbo.
They are. I'm excited. We just got news, which is perfect, about the Yankees rotation. They locked that up. We'll get into that. And just on a note about ourselves, subscribers on the YouTube been going crazy up in the month of October. The live streams during the games, the numbers there have been really fun, having people hang out with us. So if you haven't subscribed or you find yourself watching, please do. Appreciate that. We finally got to a nice number. We'll get to 100 eventually. I wanted to just let everyone know, maybe you were on vacation. My mom and dad are on vacation. They're like, we're going to have to tap back in for the World Series.
The Vancouver Cougars, people are calling them.
Yep. They're in the mountains. So if you missed the ALDS, just briefly to let you know, Yanks didn't hit that much. Their best offensive hitter in terms of batting average was actually Giancarlo Stanton, who was also the best hitter in terms of not on base percentage. He's third on base percentage, but slugging. Stanton was the best hitter for the Yankees. They didn't do much against the Royals. And then you have Juan Soto. He only had 4 hits. The Yanks didn't have anyone really go crazy, but Soto had a 389 on base percentage, and was doing well. Judge, no hits really, no slug. He did end up with a good on base percentage, 389. But, yeah, we need to see Judge get going. And it looked like he started to piece it together a little bit better. And then Volpe was the big difference from regular season. He had a 438 on base percentage. Again, not a lot of hits, not a lot of slug, but really good at-bats, good contact. Glaber didn't have a lot of hits, but he got on base, and his hits were doubles, so his numbers look good. And then Verdugo went 1 for 11. And Wellesley and Jazz, the 3 lefties there, really got, diced up, looked lost at times, contributed on other sides of the ball. But those are the 3, and Judge is the biggest one. But those 3, if one of them steps up, it helps the offense a whole bunch.
Yeah. Each playoff series, the numbers end up kind of looking just a little silly because it's smaller sample size. G finished what, 375 batting average or whatever. But yeah, and just the at bats and how it feels, and you see that come and go pretty quickly. Austin Wells, who kind of limped down the stretch a little bit, and then he has that playoff series as his first playoff series. Definitely someone to watch. We've seen Jazz go hot and cold during the year, so like I'm not super concerned. Like he needs to make his hay. Not a phrase, is a phrase, but just not used with baseball or sports defensively. And then whenever he can do something offensively, it's a bonus. Whether it's stealing bags or being a threat, like he did hit a homer, second deck. The game unfortunately was kind of decided at that point. But yeah, you just want to see better at bats from those guys, especially against the Guardians, who are going to be so bullpen heavy that in a 7-game series, the more pitches you see, like the Guardians are down to 2 starting pitchers, kind of, that if those guys continue to be easy outs or quick innings, it lets the pitcher kind of collect themselves and get back on their feet. And if you keep their pitch count, it'll just have effect. If it gets to save Cleveland a bullpen arm for the next game, like that is their ripple effect this series. So, let's see who's getting good at bats down there, and it'll become an interesting conversation. The first base thing, which was actually kind of strong for the Yankees with Birdie and Osvaldo, but we don't have a Rizzo update yet, right? So we'll see what goes on there. But yeah, just better at bats.
Better at bats, which is what Volpe did. Like just do that, and we're happy. Pitching side of things, bullpen was awesome for the Yankees. Cole was great in his second start. Not amazing in his first, didn't cost him. Clark was good in his first start, but didn't get length and ended on a poor note. And Rodon was bad in his start. So bullpen helped him. You're gonna need longer outings. But the Yanks have a lot of decisions, we thought, as far as the rotation goes. So get into the Yankees side of things here, Jake. The roster
is brought to you by Shady Rays. Make sure you guys go out and get your Shady Rays, and we're better together. Shady Rays will be friends forever. Shady Rays. They've got premium polarized sun bows. My words, not theirs. 5 stars by over 300,000 people, and they have their lost or broken replacement guarantee. So if you lose or break your sunglasses, which pretty much everyone has, you can exchange them for a new pair or return worry-free within 30 days. They've been with us for a while. They're a huge part of our warehouse. We have custom collab Jimmy and Jake shades, and they've got all sorts of sunglasses. So go check them out. Shady Rays is giving their best deal of the year with promo code YANKS, 50% off 2+ pairs of premium polarized sunglasses, and that applies to the custom Jimmy and Jake shades. So go check out their website. They're great sunglasses, great people. ShadyRays.com. Code YANKS, 50% off 2 or more pairs.
They took a lot of position players with them to the DS. It's a 5-game set with off days. They didn't use their bench. They pinch ran Duke Ellis once. They didn't pinch hit anyone ever. They didn't defensive replace anyone ever. So they don't need that many guys. They need more pitching. They need long man help. So I think it's a guarantee that you're going to get at least I think they might do 2 pitchers and 2 bench players swap, but maybe not. Guaranteed they do 1, and my guess would be Stroman gets added as the pitcher.
I was going to say the easiest transaction you would assume would be Marcus Stroman, who, again, like Marcus Stroman played to his baseball card this year. If you ever find yourself in a tight spot these playoffs, we didn't pitch Luis Hill. Hamilton and Jake Cousins only had, 1 appearance last series. That the Yankees bullpen has some other hopefully good options for us, knock on wood. But if you ever find yourself in up 10, hopefully, or, let's not say down 10, but if Marcus Stroman could come in and throw 4 innings or something like that, or hey, who knows, like if you run into one of these extra inning baseball classics that can change a series, Marcus Stroman's a great guy to have for that. Like, and we know the Yankees don't manage for extra innings. We've seen that. They will push the envelope and not keep another guy in the bullpen, because what are the odds, right? They kind of Joe's McFly extra innings, which I don't love. But if Marcus Stroman is your guy there, that's a nice person to have.
Yeah, and he's been keeping himself extended and giving himself length. So I think Stroman's on. I think Rice comes off. I think they're happy with what they got at first base with Oswaldo and Birdie. The combination of Oswaldo and Birdie had the highest OPS of all the American League first base slots in the AL.
Would you look at that?
The Mets, Phillies, and Dodgers first basemen all did better. But in the American League,
hey, what are your what's your Rizzo sniff test at?
0. I just don't. I mean, maybe the World Series. We would see videos of him swinging or hear stuff. They'd be a little more excited than just like word of mouth. Yeah, it's yeah. So I don't know. Could be wrong as always, but not giving me anything there. Same with Nestor. It's just too soon.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if Nestor and Rizzo were in the same bucket, I'm Rizzo over Nestor. Just guessing on quotes. Again, this is nothing, but there was one Boone line that was a little further than he's gone. I think what did he say? Rizzo looks very good or something like that. Like, I don't know. Boone, he's pretty careful with his words, that it was a step past where I thought he would say Anthony Rizzo would be with an injured hand.
I just think you'd hear them they'd be sent to like Tampa to face batters. Like you'd go through some real trials with
right, but
guys
it's also funny business season, and like I think the bullpen guys threw over the past couple days that Rizzo got at bats that way. So that's the only caveat there.
Did he? I feel like we would have heard. I don't know.
I think it's funny business season.
Yeah. I'm trying to find that Boone quote. He's seeing some progress, is what Aaron Boone said. And they will decide on 12 or 13 pitchers. So guarantee one comes up.
If it's 13, is that like Mark Leiter? Like what?
Leiter or Poteet or Beater, because it's literally just length if you just have to take a loss. If you're down 6-0 in the 7th inning, you go Poteet, Stroman, Beater, go pitch 3 innings for us. So I think Leiter gets jumped by Poteet or Beater. Did Poteet get hurt? Because the article that I read just said it's Beater or Leiter.
He was hurt. I think he was working his way back, but I don't think he made any action. Or did he get one appearance?
He did come back. I think they IL'd him again at the very end.
I think at the very end he got IL'd again. But so I would guess it would be not Leiter, someone that is stretched out to go 3 innings and just eat 3 innings and a loss.
I think you're right. I do. What would be interesting there, and it was actually the Guardians. Eli Morgan found himself in a big spot in Game 5 just because they were pushing the limits of a bullpen game, which, we're going to talk about Game 7 and stuff like that. That high-end potential-wise, if the Yankees would lean that way, if they feel they have enough innings, if Mark Leiter could kick back into gear. But, yeah, I don't know. It also gets tricky because who are you kicking off the roster? Is it Trent? Is it Dominguez?
I think Dominguez would go next. They clearly don't. They could have pinch hit him a couple times. They didn't. They could have pinch run. Like, Duke Ellis is going to beat out Dominguez. If you're just looking for someone to pinch run, Duke Ellis is going to be, if that's the only thing you need, Duke Ellis is there. If you need a 4th outfielder, Grisham beats out Dominguez. So
but do we need a 4th outfielder,
No, I'm just saying those are the reasons you're looking at the bench. If it's an injury, then you call Dominguez up and like you need everything. But if it's just specialized needs, I think there's people that have it better version of what Dominguez offers.
Yeah, I don't know. I get it. It's a conversation we've done, but Dominguez is a better runner than Trent if you need a second pinch runner.
That would be if Duke Ellis, you need a second or Duke's off. But Birdie and Oswaldo can also, like, Birdie can pinch run if Oswaldo's starting.
Yeah, I think Dominguez is faster. I mean, I guess Birdie, I'd assume, is a better base runner, but he's 34. And then, yeah, it's just, hey, if some of the bats actually go cold, some of the guys we've seen, Dominguez could take an at bat where you wouldn't want Trent doing that. So I don't know. I see both sides of it, but it's kind of that weird thing. Like you kind of can't sub Judge out. You can't sub Soto out. And left field wise, Verdugo is going to be the better left fielder over Trent or Judge or Soto. That I wonder, like if Trent's value is a defensive center fielder, but you can't put him in at defense over anyone, then I don't know what his role is.
The bench really doesn't have many roles. Like Duke Ellis is the only guy that's got a role. He's going to pinch run for Stanton.
Yeah.
And then if you go extras, you need a hitter. So maybe that's where Dominguez stays. Dominguez then becomes a DH.
Right. We're splitting hairs. We'll find out.
All right. Let's the actual decisions as far as the series goes. Cole can't go game 1. So they had a decision between Rodon and Clark for game 1. I thought it was just going to be Rodon, but then they said they hadn't made their mind, and because they didn't know who they were playing yet. And that led me to think that Clark was going to go game 1 because this Guardians team is really good against lefties, and the stadium is prone to homers, and Progressive Field is not prone to homers, but they just announced literally as we hit start that Rodon will go game 1.
Knee-jerk reaction. I'm not in love with it. And it's weird because I don't want it to be shots fired at Rodon, who he clearly came out too hot of the gates in his first playoff start. But man, some of these Guardians numbers are kind of jarring. Like David Fry, who was super impactful, kind of saved their season in their series against the Tigers that they're coming off of. David Fry is in there versus lefties. He was an all-star. It was a little fluky, and he came back down to earth, but it's the playoffs, and he's kind of back. And he'll be hitting, I think he hits second in their lineup versus lefties. Jose Ramirez, who you guys might know from the Cleveland Guardians, one of the leftovers from the 2017 matchup. Funny watching those highlights. Tanaka, Didi. But, like, they were the best team in baseball versus left-handed starting pitching this year. Jose Ramirez has an OPS in the 7s versus righties. He won dots versus lefties. So I don't know, man. This a Cleveland team coming off saving their season, winning a series for game 1 with Rodon coming off a bad start. It feels a little bit like an icky formula. That I don't know. I'm interested to see your thoughts, and I'm interested to see where we can spin off to kind of like Yankees funny business. Like, is it Rodon one time through, make them burn their bench? I don't know.
I think it's Rodon, and they're saying, hey, dude, we're paying you a lot of money, and you look sharp. Make the adjustment. Stay cool and calm, and don't let like yourself get rattled. And the pitch calling was bad in that 1 inning. So I thought they were going to go Clark because I think that's the winninger move, but putting Rodon in Cleveland, which is more favorable for the contact he gives up. We'll see. He hasn't faced the Guardians as a Yankee. So the last time he faced them was in 2022. Different team. Well, they were good there, but not the lineup didn't have a lot of names. And he went 7 innings pitched, 1 earned run, 2 hits. It was a little bit ago. And then and then the last times they were the Indians, not the Guardians. So Rodon game 1, Cole game 2. I'm guessing it'll be Clark again on the road, game 3, and then Heel game 4. You have to use 4 starters. Unless we get a surprise Nestor's healthy, or they go Stroman over Heel, but I don't think you can do that. And
Boone said Heel will start a game.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Boone did say it. So then game 5 would be Rodon again. Interesting. So that's the rotation there. You need to win versus the starters. When we get into the Guardians side of things, you need to go versus the start. It's a starter versus starter. That's the biggest advantage the Yankees have.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about the Yankees potentially having 5 starting pitchers on the roster. I'm sure the Guardians will add another guy for length. They had Cantillo and Gavin Williams, and maybe those will be their guys. But they are Tanner Bybee, Matt Boyd, who will give a start, and he started against the Yankees this year. And yeah, if the Yankees can ruin one of their days, that really changes the Guardians' plans. But yeah, I don't know. I know there's the Yankee lefty stuff I'm still a little nervous about. And Matt Boyd he's looked nice. He got kind of, do or die game 5, and the Guardians wanted to get it to their bullpen. Otherwise he was fine. But yeah, if you can ruin one of their first 2 starts, that changes kind of the whole outlook of the series.
So for the lineup, for the Yankees side of things, any changes? Would you move Wells down and slide Stanton up? Or they're way more righty, the Guardians. Like the Royals had their bullpen, they had options, lefties and righties. The Guardians have a deep and nice bullpen, but it's all the studs are righties, I believe.
Yeah, I think they've got Heron and another guy. Like we'll see some lefty, but no, the Royals, they wanted to muck it up. Cleveland believes in their guys, and they, for those that don't know, they have Class A on the back end, who's like the best reliever in baseball. Yeah, they'll use Sobrowski as a lefty guy. Tim Herron's good, and then Gaddis and Cade Smith are there. I mean, they've been 2 of the best relievers in baseball. Gaddis has a Bugs Bunny changeup, so I don't know his numbers off the top of my head, but I'd like to think that's probably helpful versus lefties. And Cade Smith, my God, his rookie relief season is something pretty incredible they put together. But this bullpen went to work for 5 games against the Detroit Tigers. So yeah, I don't know if you can. Bybee's good. Matt Boyd is the veteran Matt Boyd lefty, and we've had some struggles there. And I think Alex Cobb might get a look for them, who they traded for him. He had 1 start, got hurt. The Tigers, they are very much piecemealing every game together, more or less. Guardians.
Yeah. So on the Yankees side of things, like the reason why Boone and baseball people like going righty, lefty, righty, lefty, righty in your top 6 or 5 is because, say they bring a lefty, because the next 3 batters are Soto, Judge, and Wells, and that's where Wells comes in play here. Well, then Judge gets a lefty at bat versus a lefty. Or same with Stanton if they bring in a lefty for the Wells-Stanton Jazz lane. So I think they're going to keep it the same and keep Wells there for the benefit of landing in spots. But I wouldn't be shocked if they... See, the problem is if you slide Stanton up, the Judge Stanton lane's fine. They still hit righties. But the Wells Jazz lane, or you have to then move... you have to move Volpe down to 6, because like Wells or Jazz has to go 5, and then Volpe would have to go 6 to separate, so you don't have the Wells Jazz back to back, because now you're granting them a lane to use their lefties.
Yeah, and I mean, we've done Judge Stanton a lot through the years, as much as we believe those guys. It makes the job slightly easier for a reliever with them too. It's 2 big body righties that I think they're going to leave the lineup for game 1 at least. Again, if Austin Wells slaps 2 doubles this series, it's like, okay, Austin Wells is on. That's how playoff baseball works. And especially getting the Rodon news of like they're kind of empowering Rodon to take the pill in game 1. I'm going to assume they're going to empower Austin Wells as well. Like, hey, that was a 4-game series against the Royals. We won 3 out of 4. Like, that's kind of what we thought would happen. That put that in your rear view. Now let's go beat the guard dog. So yeah, I would assume they're not going to mess with that. I think the only thing that's back in play is first base.
Oswaldo should get it. Well, I don't know, because they didn't do Oswaldo versus Waka there at the end. That was odd. But Birdie did look really good. Like, he looked fundamental at first. Oswaldo plays it well. In that last game, Birdie looked like a first baseman, which is kind of crazy.
Well, he's a former hockey player, so you know how that translates. But Yeah, no, Birdie looked good. He's been swinging the bat well. That it's we get frustrated because Oswaldo has also done that. That yeah, dude, I think it's actually great. I think the Yankees get to put their overthought process into that decision and good. Like leave everything else. Oh well, Birdie's actually a lot better against down in the count changeups. And it's like, okay, hey, if you guys want to believe in that, like the decision doesn't really matter that much. So in the words of the famous Rush Hour movies, push the damn button.
Push it.
Push
Hey, on
it.
the Guardian side of things,
Push the
to
button.
go over, who's the Guardian side of things brought to us by?
It's brought to us by Booking.com. Hey, New Yorkers, haven't you always wanted to go visit Cleveland? Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. There's a body of water there. And actually, downtown Cleveland, there's like 7 blocks between the baseball stadium and the football stadium. Really nice. And you should go there with Booking.com. Yeah. Booking.com. The right stay can make you a fan of any baseball city in this beautiful United States of America. They got hotels, bed and breakfast, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more. Right. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your rivals, which is Cleveland this week. So book today on Booking.com. Download the Booking.com app. It's a nice drive. If you've been looking to do a roadie with the friends, see a Yankees road playoff game, do it with Booking.com.
The Guardians, you're going to recognize a lot of these names from the 2022 American League Divisional Series where they went 5 games. You got Josh Naylor. He was a big part of that series. Steven Kwan, Andres Jimenez, Jose Ramirez, and those are still a lot of the main guys here. Austin Hedges, you'll see behind the plate for the Guards, and then obviously Clase at the tail end. That's kind of all on the pitching side. But that is a lot of familiar faces on the batting side. And Kwan is a motherfucker, pardon my language. Like, he is good in the divisional series against the Tigers. He just had a 524 batting average with a 565 on base percentage, and he's fast. So he's the top of the order. So you got to take care of that dude. And then Thomas Lane was the big slugger. Like, he got the big grand slam. He had some key hits.
Lane Thomas in some cultures too.
Thomas Lane. I have in Baseball Reference, it does the comma, but that one just read so natural.
And Thomas Lane.
Yeah. Thomas Jane.
Not to start beef, but Thomas Lane, nice, kind of a nice name.
Not bad. Quan Steven, Fry David. Who had a rough go for them? Bo Naylor had a rough go. He had a 0 for 11. Jimenez had a rough time. Jimenez tried to bunt for a base hit twice in that series and just out. One time he popped up the first base. One time it was just right to the first baseman. Yep. So he's trying to force things. And then Josh Naylor didn't have a great time either at the plate. And J-Ram. The Tigers were able to hold J-Ram. And he just got hit in the arm too. So I wonder if.
Yeah, J-Ram, his at-bats got better as the series went on. It was similar to Bobby Witt and Judge. I still expect him to be Jose Ramirez until he's not. Quan, I think the last 2 games he had 3 hits, and you said all that stuff. He's a Gold Glover defensively too. Lane Thomas was the trade deadline piece add to this team. He started off awful, and then he started raking, and then he has what'll be remembered as like a famous grand slam in Guardians history. So, man, they play defense. The new young guys you might want to learn. Brian Rocchio is their shortstop. He is out there for his defense and for a reason. He's really good out there. And anything he contributes offensively, which he did last time, that's almost like bonus points for them. Like if that happens, like the Guardians get a little supercharge in their fuel. And dude, they just play beautiful defense. Jose Ramirez every year at third base is beautiful. Jimenez is one of the best defenders in the game, the best second baseman, IMO. And Rocchio is climbing the shortstop ladder. That Lane Thomas plays a good center. Whoever's in right field will have a good arm at least. And Quan is an all-world left fielder. So they play defense behind whoever's on the mound.
Defense, it's kind of like they will win the balls in play game because you put the ball in play, They'll get you out, and then they just put the ball in play and force you to get them out. So season series with the Yanks this year, the Yanks won 2 out of 3 both times. They lost 2 of the 2 losses were a walk-off loss where the Ferg gave up 3 runs to lose the game in Cleveland, and then a 12th inning loss at home where the Ferg gave up 6 runs in the 12th inning. So the Ferg, both losses to the Guards. Not great. Also some bad defense in that game. They will bunt on you. They will force action. The Royals, I thought they were going to do that. They did not do that. They also like to steal, and they like to get jumps off the pitcher, and they got Cole a couple times. The Yanks picked him off twice in the regular season by then doing that. The pitcher just stepping off and throwing him out. So we'll see if they're active, because the Royals kind of didn't get a chance to be. And that's the Yankees' game plan, is we got to not let them get a chance to be active.
Yeah, Guardians finished the season 5th in steals and 12th in homers. So, like, they're out here to play playoff baseball. David Fry, who hit the home run in Game 4 to save their season, later in that same game, he had a suicide squeeze, and he got it down. So, like, that's kind of Guardians baseball. Like, if you're on their field, you better play defense. You're going to be empowered to do whatever you're supposed to do on that field for them. And they want to force the issue, put the pressure on, and get the ball. You know, it's a little bit flashback to the 2015 Kansas City Royals, that their bullpen, they feel like if they have a lead in the 5th inning, they're going to win behind Herron, Smith, Gaddis, and Class A.
Yep. And that's why I think this is a game of you have to score first. The Guardians were not good at scoring first this year, despite the top of their lineup being so heavy. They were really not good at scoring first. They were actually, the first time through the top of the lineup in the regular season, they were one of the worst teams. So I thought that, which always weirded me out because they're so top heavy, but it's like those guys took a little bit to get going, I guess. But Bybee is the pitcher the Yankees should hit. I know he's good, but he's a righty that throws a fastball, slider, and then a changeup like 15% of the time. Waka and Lugo were pitchers that give the Yankees nightmares. We said it before we even saw the games. Like, hey, this pitch mix is not for the Yankees. If Judge is back in a rhythm, you know, Tanner Bybee's pitch mix is a much better combo for all of the Yankees. And Tanner Bybee this year versus the top of the order, he has a 302 batting average against, which is 5th highest amongst starting pitchers. So, yeah, you can't let, like, them hand like a 2-3 run lead. Like if it's a 1-run game, sure, you're in it, keep going, and they can get to the bullpen they have before, but their bullpen is good. Same with Boyd. You know, they hit. Soto and Judge went back-to-back versus Boyd. I know he's a lefty, but it doesn't scare me as much. Soto and Judge went back-to-back versus Boyd this year. They hit like 3 balls to the warning track in the later innings. And then Cobb, everyone's got good history versus Cobb. He's been around for a while. So, like, that's the biggest advantage the Yankees have. And they need to get leads early in the first, 4 innings.
And that's where the Rodon thing is so interesting. Like, Clark Schmidt has been so good at not having the bad inning this year. And maybe that's why they like him on the road. And, like, Clark, in theory, would be lined up for Game 7 if it gets there. Mm-hmm. Not that I think the Yankees are truly thinking that way. But my funny business meter is kind of off with this Rodon start, because, sure, you paid him a ton of money. He had a great year, and we believed in him coming into the playoffs, and he looked sharp early in his playoff start. But, man, these Guardians coming in, everyone's better versus lefties. Like Kwan, the lefty contact hitter, is better versus lefties. Ramirez, and then you get David Fry in the lineup. That I wonder if he's one time through. And, like, that might scare Yankee fans or excite them. I don't know. But you do have Garrett Cole Game 2 that in the right situation, which it's Garrett Cole, it should be Garrett Cole, Canely, Weaver, maybe our guy, Clay Holmes. But in that first game, if you can have Cleveland go one time through, then you bring out Jake Cousins, who's kind of the righty eraser, and you have Hamilton, and you have Tim, like, you have the pieces, especially for Game 1. I know you might be overexposing the bullpen, but I guess maybe that's just the plan. If Rodon doesn't look sharp, you can do that. And if Rodon does, hey, fuck it, we ball. Give us 6 innings. You're supposed to be that guy. But I don't know. You can put the Guardians in an interesting situation there, but it also gets close to exposing your bullpen and over managing.
I think I'd do a combo of with just the second time through, I'd have someone warming. They kind of did that, but as soon as like that inning versus the Royals gets cut way shorter this time,
Right.
maybe because he was rolling.
Yeah.
And, you know, the 2-0 home run, the Salvi's like, all right, keep going. And that's what they felt. But this time, as soon as that comes, you got to be like, no, like let's slow this down. Let's get someone up. Can't let it implosion there. Because, as you said, the bullpen for the Guardians is really good. Really good. Now, there is some interesting and good history for the Yankees, Jake, which I was a little surprised at. Like, I wonder if Clase has blown more games against the Yankees than any other team. Because that's got to be the case. I mean, he's got 13 regular season games against the Yankees, and he has 4 blown saves. Now, he's got 4 blown saves or losses. So a blown loss, a loss, and 2 blown saves in his last 8 outings versus the Yanks. That's 50%. He has not converted the save.
Not bad.
Couple times he's come in with runners on. But they definitely feel a little comfortable against him, which is good. Gaddis, they faced him a little this year. Glaber, where are my notes? I think Glaber had Glaber worked an 11 pitch at bat versus him, ended in a walk. Oswaldo had a hard hit shot that went to the track. They faced Cade Smith, who's been electric for them. Cade Smith, 6 1/3 innings in the DS with only 1 run allowed. They faced him earlier in the year, April, so I'm not sure it was the same guy. Wells, top of the wall in dead center. Actually, I think that was in September when Wells did that. Glaber had a single, and Judge had a single versus Cade Smith. I think Glaber and Judge were earlier. And then they also have good Wells almost hit a walk-off versus Heron that got caught. So they have some history against these guys.
Yeah, it's going to turn into playoff baseball a little bit. Cade Smith just broke the record for strikeouts in a division series, so he's feeling pretty good. Let's see how good that looks, and let's see how good that looks against the Yanks. Class A, the Tigers, who saw him a decent amount, it's where being the kind of one pitch cutter guy comes back to you that. If you see it enough, these MLB guys are good. Now, he does throw a slider too, and that's actually the pitch he got beat on to give up the 3-run homer to Kerry Carpenter. But yeah, if you see Class A, and he kind of fits like the Yankees billing, like the Yankees have good professional hitters that when that pitch mix does get limited, unlike a Waka or a Lugo, like that kind of allows them to be just a little bit more comfortable. That, again, he's an elite player, but it was funny. I listened to Kevin Millar was on with Ryan Russillo, and they were talking about facing Mariano, and he was like, dude, but it used to be unbalanced schedules. He's like, dude, Mariano's like the greatest to ever do it. Don't get me wrong, but we would see him like 10 times during the season that when we were in that 04 postseason, like, he's going to beat you a lot. But if you get 1 or 2 of those Mo pitches middle where other teams that don't see him still break their bat, like we knew what to do with that pitch. So I do think the Yankees feel okay against Class A.
Yeah, which is nice. It's very nice to have that feeling. With
But hey, they're saying in April Luke Weaver got clipped by Estevan Florial, so
that was just a gift. That was a call. One thing with Clase, if Wells comes up, you might get a pinch hit Trevino at bat.
Yeah.
Because Trevi does hit velo decent. He got a hit off Clase, and I think he's put some balls in play off of him before. So if Wellsy continues to look how he looks, you might see that. Like, prep yourself, because Trevi can turn on a 100-mile-per-hour fastball for a single.
Big couple first games for Wells. Like, the conversations can get interesting there. Jazz is going to be out there. That's obvious. First base is a little weird. Everything else is kind of cemented at this point that, yeah, Wellsy at bat wise needs to be a little more competitive.
I agree. All right. The other note, which comes down to what I was saying, which is my biggest thing, is they need to beat the starting pitchers. I thought the Royals had good pitching staff, pitching and relievers, but I was like, the Royals starters are they're prime to just us be sitting there being like, what the fuck? Like, how are we not hitting this guy? He's all in the zone, and it kind of went that way. But then they had so many relievers that I thought it was going to be not a tall task at the end to push them across. It was harder than I thought. But opponents are hitting .391 against the Guardians starting pitchers when they're behind in the count this season, which is the highest in Major League Baseball. So we need Jazz to have some patient fucking at-bats. We need everyone to have some patient at-bats and let them then search for the strike zone, the starters. Like, make them work, push runs across the board.
Man, I'm nervous for Rodon, dude. Have a big game because, the team that comes in is basically looking to split. And with Rodon, like that, it feeds into the Guardians' strengths that I'm very curious to see how that goes. It's game one. It sets the tone. And don't get me wrong. I obviously believe in Garrett Cole, but, if they were to win game one and it's Rodon gets touched up and their bullpen pieces together 7 strong innings, and it's like, damn, that was tough. Like the Guardians, house money Guardians just swinging for the porch against Garrett Cole. I don't love that either. So I don't know. It begins, Jim.
Begins. Some other notes here as we round this out. Guardians hitters have put 41% of balls in play to the right side of the field since last season, which is the highest in Major League Baseball. That's the Yankees' weakest part of their defense with Soto in right, Birdie, Oswaldo at first, and Glaber at second. So hopefully we don't see any blemishes come up in big spots there. But they put the ball in play to the right side more than any other team this year, and they put the ball in play to the left side the least amount of baseball. So they will be hitting it to the right side is what the stats say. And then, their relief pitchers are really good. And left-handed batters are just 191 against Guardians relief pitchers this season because the top guys, Cade Smith, Gaddis, and Clase, are righties. So I wonder how that fares. You don't have anyone to pinch it besides maybe Dominguez stays for that reason. Maybe maybe Birdie pinch hits for Oswaldo at the end of games for that reason. So you don't just have lefties. But that doesn't make sense. So their righties are better against lefties than righties. So that's reverse splits.
Yeah, well, Class A with the cutter, and I'd assume Gaddis's changeup. My kind of final notes. The stadium, we talked a lot about in Kansas City. Oh, that would have been a homer in how many parks? The ball's flying out of Cleveland this year. There's a great article on Baseball Prospectus. They literally took out part of the bleachers, and there's a little bit of a wind tunnel. You'd like to think that benefits the Bombers. So with that happening and, the other games being at Yankee Stadium where the first 2 home runs were unicorn 1 out of 30 stadium home runs, expect the gopher ball to be more in play, which you'd like to think would benefit the Yanks.
I'd hope so. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Leave a comment, share with your friends. Say, hey, get into this. And then join us on the live streams. Also, we live streaming on JM Baseball for all the Mets and Dodgers games starting tonight. Goodbye. Go Yanks. Tell them, Grams.
Go Yankees.